Hey, what's up guys, Shane here, come back with a brand new video for you guys. Today we're going to be talking about what I believe has the best investment opportunity moving forward, and I'll be putting my money where my mouth is at the end. But today we're going to be first up starting with cases. Cases are a huge market, but there's two different types, and the main ones are obviously the active and the rare. First up, talking about the active cases, these ones are a lot more risky in today's times. That's because they're already quite expensive. As you can see, these cases are no longer 3 cents or 5 cents, and therefore I'm just going to be straight up avoiding these. I don't think that they have enough potential in my eyes for me to be investing into them at this time, and we're talking a little bit more after a quick word from today's sponsor.
Are you looking to grab some of those great looking CS2 skins but don't want to spend a ton of money on Steam tax selling off your current ones? Well, you don't have to with today's sponsor, SkinsMonkey. SkinsMonkey is a trading website that's currently offering you $5 free if you use code MasterShiny, or an additional 35% bonus on new deposits with the code MasterShiny. All you have to do is pick out the skins you no longer want, pick out the skins you do want, and send that trade. And if you don't have any skins, don't worry, they're giving away hundreds of dollars worth of skins all the time.
Now, talking about rare cases, there's a lot to go over. If we want to talk just generally speaking, rare cases as a whole, especially some of the cheaper ones, have been on the downfall over the past 30 days. You can see they've had some pretty negative price movements, but that doesn't mean we're done with them. In fact, this is obviously a very good time to potentially start thinking about them. Talking about case numbers specifically, there was still about 36 million cases unboxed in last month. That does not include Anubis, but these are a little bit deceiving numbers because obviously we've got some active duty cases in there which make up a decent amount of them, but even so, inside of the rare cases there's almost two different types of cases. You've got your cheaper ones that are a lot more accessible, and then you got some of the older ones which are obviously a little bit more expensive. Now when it comes down to this, it really depends on your risk tolerance. If we want to look at some of the older ones like your Revolver, some of like your Gammas, or even your Spectrums, these ones are going to be a little bit more stable. As you can see in the 7-day movements, these ones are all, generally speaking, up at least a little, and that stability obviously comes from the fact that these are a little bit more expensive. Otherwise, the main area I am trying to focus in on is some of those cheaper cases. Obviously they're a little bit more risky, but if you're planning to hold them for a longer amount of time, that risk kind of fades away, or at least that's my thought process on it. Therefore, I would try and focus in specifically on some of those cheaper ones that you believe have potential. If we want to go back to those unboxing numbers, we can see that there's some of these cases that still have a very high amount of demand. You're looking at your Danger Zone case, which is currently the #1 most unboxed rare case, which it finally beat out the Clutch case for that position, followed by that Prisma 2 case. There's a lot of cases inside of this that still have a heavy amount of demand that you could potentially think about investing into. Now obviously all of these cases that are in the rare pool that are cheap have a ton of supply, and I want to make that very clear. If you want to just look at the amount listed on the market, which is not a great representation of supply, you can see these ones obviously have a lot of people looking to sell, and that's because there's obviously a lot of people with these cases. If you're looking for a little bit more information, I got a full video breaking that down because we got other topics, including the next one, capsules. Now we're not going to be specifically talking about the impact of Paris, that's going to be next, but Antwerp and Stockholm capsules are also in a very interesting position that I honestly think it's a very tough decision of whether you're going to invest into these or not, and we'll talk about at the end what my specific decision was. Now in this, I'm quite conflicted. What we are seeing though is a much higher ROI for Antwerp and Stockholm. This is very important because, at least in my opinion, this is actually one of the factors I do look for a little bit in figuring out what specifically I'm going to try and go into. It's something that can provide you a bit of insight into potentially what is a little bit undervalued at the time. It's something we've used in the past, and it's something that has ended up right in some cases, and obviously not every case is going to be right. That's just how indicators work. In my personal opinion, talking about these capsules, I definitely think there is a future for these capsules. The problem is it's not dependent on my opinion, it's dependent on the market opinion. And you can see very clearly what the market thinks looking at one specific capsule, and that's the Stockholm Contender sticker capsule. That's because there's only one sticker repeated in this, and it's phased. But the thing is, if we want to look at all the specific stickers inside of this, they're almost all still down, representing the fact that even though these stickers weren't reproduced in Paris, that doesn't necessarily mean that these stickers were safe from the eventual downfall, and the very large downfall, as you can see looking at the 30-day percentage-wise. It's down 60%, the lowest out of any of the capsules, but not by much. And moving on to our big hitter here, Paris. Now this video is actually me investing $50 into specifically what I think is going to potentially go up, and that's going to be in just a couple minutes. Talking about Paris, obviously Paris has not hit the sale yet, but the next episode, because I'm planning to make this a monthly series, is obviously going to include some Paris. I think Paris has a ton of potential, and it's quite obvious by the fact that Stockholm and Antwerp are down so much that people also agree with me and think that Paris is going to be quite a supplied capsule. Now, in this case, I think there's definitely one capsule that stands out to me, which I'm not going to say just yet, and that's because it's a very conflicting issue. People have not been too happy in the past when I've given my opinion on specifically things like that, but I think there's one capsule that stands out to me, which I can't obviously share yet. However, what I can do is I can tell you what I am specifically avoiding from Paris, the first of which is going to be the Champions capsule. Now, the Champions capsule, I'm going to pick up a couple of them, but if we want to look at the past 3 majors, the worst performing capsule at all of them was the Champions capsule. It's consistently the cheapest one, and it's usually quite a significant difference, although it's kind of been leveled out a little bit because of the recent pullback we've seen. In my opinion, it's just a kind of dead-end investment. The other one is going to be souvenir packages. I'm not planning to pick up a ton of souvenir packages, maybe if we see a map revoked, but that's definitely an if-then situation. The last thing on people's radars is skins. Now, in my opinion, skins are not something I would suggest picking up as a specific investment. There's definitely some things, if you're talking about flips, you definitely have trade up fillers, and there's a lot of potential in that area. As you can see, a lot of these skins are up. In my opinion, I'm just going to completely avoid that, at least at this point, just because I don't think there's enough potential ROI wise for me to get into this. That's just because you have such a high starting price for so many of these skins. If you want to look at high quality skins, they could be potentially hundreds of dollars. That's just not where we want to get a high ROI from investing, because these skins are not going to go up $500 overnight. But alright, it's time for me to put my money where my mouth is. What specifically am I investing? If you didn't know, I'm starting this brand new series where I'm investing $50 into it. Obviously, it's been done before, but I want to throw my twist on it, something I've done in the past. But basically, the first thing I'm going to be buying up is going to be a couple clutch cases. I think this one's pretty straightforward. It's the second most unboxed rare case. It's got a healthy amount of demand, and the only other place you can get that rare special item is in an active duty case, which is extremely expensive and will remain extremely expensive. Second thing I'm buying is Danger Zone cases. This one, once again, it's the most unboxed rare case, and the only other place you can get the knives are in the Horizon case, which is a similar, if not maybe a little bit more expensive case. The third thing I'm buying up is 24 Antwerp Contenders capsules. Now, this one is quite specific for one main reason. That's the fact that this one doesn't have a ton of teams repeating. Obviously, it's got some, but it's also got a quite decent ROI. Coming in at 70% for an ROI on a sticker capsule, at least in my experience, is pretty decent, and I see potential with this one long term. Obviously, in the short term, it's probably going to struggle as the demand is just not in this area currently. And the last thing I picked up was 18 falchion cases. This is for a couple big reasons. First of which, okay unboxing numbers for how old it is. Second of which, it's very reactive to market hype. This is one that I'm trying to time the market a little bit because I don't have a ton of capital to work with, and you can see CS2 did a number on this thing. It's come back down. I'm hoping next time I can catch that wave on the way up. Obviously, these are my investments. Don't just do it because I did it. Make sure you have a reason why. That's all I got. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day.